Hey everyone. Okay, I'm back recording 3. So we're on Popple v. State, and I'm going to go over now. I'm going to go over now how to key cite, okay, which is to check the authority to make sure it's still good law. So what you would do is see this yellow flag up here. You would just click on that. Actually, and when I hover over it, see how it says key cite yellow flag, and then it says negative treatment. Don't panic. You're just going to click on that yellow flag. And here's the rule. All right. Bottom line is yellow flags are still good law. All right. Bottom line, no questions asked. Yellow cases with yellow flags are still good law. I would say that probably 95% of cases on Westlaw have yellow flags because that all that means is that they've been distinguished by subsequent cases for some reason, because they're just factually different, or the court concluded that that case didn't apply in the case they were deciding, either because maybe it was a slightly different legal issue, or maybe again because the facts were different. But the case has not been overruled or reversed. It is 100% still good law. It just means, the yellow flag just means the case has been distinguished by a subsequent case. So a good example here is if we click on, see where it says State v. Johnson, most negative. You can click on that. Again, most negative is not saying Popple isn't good law, isn't saying the court made the wrong decision. All it's saying is that this Johnson case is different than Popple, and therefore Popple doesn't apply to control it as precedent. All right? So you can scroll down and you can see actually the majority opinion talks about how in arguing for reversal, the dissent, so the judge is disagreeing, they're relying on Popple. And actually the lawyers raising the issues in the case were also relying on Popple. And basically the majority in this opinion said, no, Popple doesn't apply here. And I will summarize it for you so you don't have to read the whole case. But bottom line is what they said was, Popple was factually different than this case here in State v. Johnson, because in Popple, the police officer directed or effectively spoke in a way, in a commanding way, that the defendant wasn't going to feel like he had an option to not obey what the officer was telling him to do, and therefore the court found that that violated the defendant's constitutional rights. In this case, the court is saying, no, Popple doesn't apply because the facts are different, because in this case, the police officer merely asked the defendant to take his hands out of his pockets while speaking to the officer. The defendant didn't have to do that, but he did, and when he did, marijuana fell out of his pocket and the officer seized it and he got arrested. The court said that didn't violate his rights. The police officer merely asked the guy a question. He wasn't under arrest. He didn't have to comply with it. You're free to walk away from the police. You don't have to talk to them. You can't walk away if you're under arrest, but if you're not under arrest, you don't have to talk to them. You don't have to answer their questions, and you can walk away. Of course, courts are going to look at the totality of the facts and circumstances. This isn't a criminal law class. My point is to explain that the only reason there's this yellow flag on that State v. Johnson has when it comes to Popple, and you'll see here, State v. Johnson actually has a yellow flag too, which means it's been distinguished by a subsequent case, probably because the facts were different. Whatever the court held here in Johnson is still good law, and what the court held in the Popple case is still good law. It just means that yellow flag means it's just been distinguished. Now, you want to read these cases. I'm going to just go back here. You of course want to read these cases that have been distinguished from Popple, because you want to know why, right? Because maybe it affects your case. Maybe you think, oh wait, actually those facts are more on point with the facts of my client's case, so I want to pay attention to that. But the point is, yellow flags do not mean the case has been overruled. Popple is still good law. State v. Johnson is still good law. State v. Mendez is still good law. Look, these have yellow flags. AF v. State, yellow flags, still good law. These cases here don't have any flags next to them, and that's fine. It just means that they haven't been distinguished in any way, and they are also still good law. And when I say distinguished, obviously these cases Popple was distinguished by this case, right? But I'm just saying a subsequent case hasn't distinguished itself from Bowles, okay? If you guys have any questions on that, let me know. But when you see the yellow flags next to these cases, it just means that these cases have been subsequently distinguished by later cases. And then these ones that don't have yellow flags, they just haven't been distinguished. But they distinguish themselves from Popple for whatever reason, all right? And that's why Popple gets this yellow flag, because it's been, you can see, declined to extend by. It just means Johnson wasn't going to take the Popple case and bring it to, the next level of saying, yep, a question by a police officer is going to be sufficient for a constitutional violation. No, they said, we're not going to take Popple that far. Popple doesn't apply here. This person wasn't effectively in police custody. They're not, their rights weren't violated. Again, this is not a criminal law class. I'm just trying to show you how the facts get distinguished by the court. This case distinguished Popple for some reason. So did this case. So did this case, and so on and so forth. But Popple is still good law. Okay. So I'm going to go back, but I'm going to show you how you know when a case is not good law. All right. We're going to go back one more time to our list of cases here, all right? And so we were in our Florida and federal state cases. We had narrowed it down to 25 through our narrowing here. And so here is a case where you're going to want to pay attention. So see Bostic v. State, and it has that red flag. Well, we're going to click on that, and then we're going to click on this red flag because see how it says judgment reversed by Florida v. Bostic? Okay, this means that this case, which was a decision by the Supreme Court of Florida, this red flag, is no longer good law. You cannot rely on it. It has been reversed. And who has it been reversed by? Well, let's click on that little red flag and find out. That case has been reversed by, so this is your key cited case. This is the one we're looking at. This case went up on appeal to the United States Supreme Court, and it was reversed by, see where it says most negative here? This was reversed by the United States Supreme Court. You can check the date. You're always going to look for the most when you're looking for a reversal. You're always going to look for the date latest in time. And if you click here on Florida v. Bostic, you're going to see that Florida v. Bostic is a United States Supreme Court case, and they reverse the Florida Supreme Court decision. Okay. And see how it says judgment reversed and remanded. You can read the synopsis here of what they were doing. The United States Supreme Court said, no, Florida Supreme Court, you are wrong. We are reversing you. And that's why the Florida Supreme Court case of Bostic v. Florida, see, notice they're flipped. Florida appealed to the United States Supreme Court, and the United States Supreme Court agreed, and they reversed the Florida Supreme Court. And that's why that Bostic v. Florida case, the Florida Supreme Court case, has a red flag next to it and is no longer good law. But this case, Florida v. Bostic, the Supreme Court of the United States, still good law. Yes, it has a yellow flag. Yes, it was called into doubt by this case, State v. Winters. That's okay. It hasn't been reversed. All cases, even courts sometimes say, maybe we weren't right there, but this case is different because we're going to not decide that today. Courts don't like to reverse themselves. Reverse themselves or other courts. It is very rare. You don't see a lot of red flags on Westlaw. Yes, you'll see them, but they don't come up that often because it's a lot more likely that cases are going to build on the law and develop the law over time and distinguish prior cases based on facts of new cases rather than outright reversals, okay? But this case was an outright reversal, and they said that the Florida Supreme Court was wrong. It was a federal constitutional violation of what they were holding, and so therefore they it was not. But again, I won't bore you with those details. This is not a constitutional law or criminal law class. Just know that the United States Supreme Court told the Florida Supreme Court they were wrong and reversed them, okay? So that's why if you ever see a red flag, pump the brakes, do not cite to that case. Do click on it, find out what it was reversed, find out why it was reversed. Sometimes, and this is an important note before I go on to our last and final recording for Westlaw, sometimes cases are reversed on other grounds. So you'll see a red flag, but it's always important. Don't just ignore that case, okay? Because it's always important to click on it like I did here. Click on this case that reverses it and read it, because sometimes, remember how I've said cases raise more than one issue? Sometimes the case got reversed on another ground, all right? And the reasoning of, say, the issue that applied to you, the why a police officer can stop someone and how and when, and are they under arrest, are their rights violated, that might be a completely separate issue. Maybe they reversed because they said there was a jury instruction error, right, at trial. It's a completely separate issue because, again, multiple issues get raised on appeal. So that's why it's just so important that when you see a red flag, don't automatically ignore it. You want to read the case that reversed it, and then you'll indicate. And I didn't put this in how to cite because it's just not necessary. There's so much to teach you at this point. But you can indicate when you cite the case or give the case to your boss, you just say, I know there's a red flag. It was reversed on other grounds or overruled on other grounds. And that's how you indicate to your reader, basically in parentheses, when you do the case citation, it was overruled on other grounds, so that your reader knows, okay, this case was reversed in some way, but not on the way that applies to us. The issue we were looking at is and the law governing it is still good law. Okay, so that's really important because Westlaw doesn't distinguish between which issues get reversed. It just says there. It basically just says, whoa, there was a reversal. But that's where the computer can't do everything for you. You have to go in and read that case to find out exactly what was reversed and why. Okay. So I'm just gonna go back here. And so that, I'm gonna go back one more time. So that's pretty much it for how to, kind of find your cases, do a general search, narrow them down. You can see you got your summaries here. You can kind of pour through them. You've got your dates of the cases. Obviously, more recent, the better. But doesn't matter. There's still lots of things out there that are good law. So you just would read through all this stuff, start to gather, keep a list, do a brief summary of each list. And what's also really helpful before I move on to our last and final recording is that you can actually go into history up here, and it'll show you all the cases that you looked at. You can actually go to view all, and it'll pull up that for you. It'll pull up those cases. You can go into history and you can go into history and do recent searches, view all. So that way, you can if you don't want to forget what you were searching, and when you searched it, or if you come back the next day and you forgot your search terms, you can do that. And I'm just going to go back here. Another thing that's really helpful is when you start to find these cases, and so say we go back to Popple, say you decide you really like Popple, and you want to rely on it. See this little tab right here? This is great because you can either email a copy of it to yourself, you can print it, you can download it and save it as either a Word document or a PDF. You can send it to a Dropbox, or you can send it to a Kindle if you want to read it there. But this is a great way to kind of categorize and email cases to yourself kind of as you're going, and then you can read through them either more specifically and figure out the exact ones you want to rely on in your research, and then you can bring them to your boss or put them together to draft them in your memo. So that's really helpful, a little helpful tool as well. Okay, so I'm going to stop this recording now because again I have about a minute left, and then I'll do our last and final recording. I'll show you how to do statutes and some secondary sources. All right, hang with me. I promise we're getting there.